Hi Cancer, I'm Anisha. You can write to me at tarotbyanisha@gmail.com. You can also visit my website www.tarotbyanisha.com. And this is your monthly and an overview of 2013. Happy New Year, Cancerians. Cancerians, we start this month with Sun, Mercury, and Pluto in your seventh house. Your seventh house is all about relationships, it's about marriage, it's about partnerships. We see a shift away from the self and we see focus on another, that is a partner, and I think that's a wonderful thing. A lot of you are going to be focusing on how it is that you make your relationship better, how it is that you cooperate more in order to be having a better business partnership, and the purpose of achieving something far more greater could be done by cooperation. I think it's a wonderful start to the year, and it's going to be sort of setting a tone to the rest of the year as well. That is collaboration and cooperation. These are the two very important things for you, Cancerians. A lot of you, though, at times will be wanting to sort of help and do your bit by stretching out more. But I think starting this year in 2013, you will also have a sense of realization as to where the balance needs to be. You don't need to be getting too sensitive, and you don't need to be getting too upset when the reciprocation is not coming with the same intensity as yours. I think somewhere along the line, you will also figure out that what you're doing in a personal relationship and in a business partnership as well is for your own satisfaction, for your own happiness. And I think you will also be quite okay. Like I said, it's quite all right. It does not mean that everybody needs to be reacting in the same way or with the same intensity that you do in the closest of relationships. People have their own ways of responding, they have their own ways of reacting and showing love or showing cooperation, and that is something that I think you will accept it more. You will be more, you won't be so harsh, or rather, I think you will not feel so bad as well. You will not be so sensitive about it. There will, however, be a need to connect as well in personal relationships. I think you are looking at more communication, you're looking at not a validation or ratification, but I think you are just a little hungry for conversation. Cancerians, there is going to be a desire to connect to others on a deeper level. You are no longer going to be happy just making superficial conversation. I think starting this year, it will see you forming the existing relationships get more deeper, and the new ones that get formed will also be some wonderful and beautiful relationships, and even some lovely friendships. And though some of you could be at that stage of life, where you will say that I'm too old to be making new friends now, but you will quite surprise yourself. And again, this is, like I said, when we start the month or the setting the tone for the year, the focus is moving from the self. You're no longer so self-absorbed in your suffering, if I may put it that way. It is no longer I, me, myself, and I'm suffering, I'm nobody loves me, and nobody reciprocates the way I want them to. The moment the focus shifts from you, things to start moving very beautifully and very fluidly, and you will surprise yourself. So that's brilliant. We also have Venus, who's going to be coming and joining the planetary party. And Venus, like we all know, she's a planet of love, beauty, and sex, and even money. So she's going to be coming over here in seventh house, and she's going to be adding a lot of love, a lot of connection with children. And necessarily they don't have to be your children, but you will be or could be doing some amount of work with children that will make you happy. It also has to do with a lot of creativity. I think even the way that you converse, and it could have a, you're going to be quite amusing and quite witty. And for some of you who have had these hidden talents and you have not done much about it, I think again starting this year, a lot of you are going to be a little brave and you're going to be doing something about it. So that's brilliant. It is a really creative time, and like I said, a decent amount of dosage of love and romance as well. So you could be attracting, manifesting. For those of you who are single, I think it's a beautiful start to a year. You could be very much in love, and it looks good. And for those of you who are single, I think it's a great time to be meeting like-minded people, and it doesn't have to result in a marriage. You don't sort of get into a relationship thinking that only if it's marriage, then only I will think about it. But I think it's a great time when you will find people who interest you, and there's some lovely nice fun times, so enjoy this time, Cancerians. Saturn, however, has been a little bit of a dampener, and Saturn, the mommy planet, as I like to call her, yes, Saturn is a feminine energy, even though we keep looking at Saturn as, I think, because of all the coldness and the strictness and the heavy duty responsibility that comes with Saturn, that we automatically assume that, it's a daddy planet. But Saturn is very much a feminine energy. And Saturn has entered your fifth house on the 5th of October 2012. And she carries on being there in your fifth house till about October 2015, so 2.5 years. And Saturn, as usual, she brings about her responsibility, her duty, how it is, that you're doing your work, or how it is that you should be. It's like a very strict parent sitting at the back of the room and saying, I'm watching you, I know what you're doing, and you better do this right, or redo it, or do it till the time that you get it right. And since it is focusing on a part of your chart that has to do with love, relationship, it has to do with romance, it has to do with children, it has to do with creativity, Saturn is saying that maybe you need to be dealing differently with your children. Maybe you need to be um, looking at situation or at people, at not just people, I'm saying your children, very from a different perspective. And if you have, some of you who are parents have been having a tough time dealing with your children, I think it's really a time, I think, not just being it's not about being hard on themselves. I think you're being too hard on yourself. So Saturn is going to be, and I think even like I said, as far as love is concerned, the expectations out of love, I think a lot of us grew up with a lot of preconceived notions and a lot of conditioning. We see our parents in a certain marriage, or we see relationships around us, and we read all these lovely books. And I'm not saying it's not true and that one does not find true love, but love can have many connotations. So it doesn't have to be, a marriage does not have to be defined or specified, or we do not have to behave in a certain way. And even love, I think you really can't be saying that only if he or she is doing an X certain thing of me, that do am I sure that this person is really in love with me. It also speaks about a lot of trust issues, Cancerians. I think this aspect also speaks about that, how much of it is that you trust yourself. So that would be quite a key thing, and it would be quite an important thing for you. And like I said, this sort of thread carries on for you for the entire 2013, and it would be wise to sort of rather than getting upset. So while your love and your romance and your creativity area will not really be, all up and getting to go, but this is a time where it's saying that work on it, and the rewards are going to be there to stay for lifetime. So look at things that you need to be transforming, you need to be changing, and not in others, in yourself. Now, Mars is going to be coming and activating your eighth house, which is about your shared resources. It's about alimony, it's about joint custody, it's about taxes, it's about insurance, it's about sexuality. And Mars, like we all know, is a planet of aggression, is a planet of action, and he's going to be coming and pushing you to do things that you may have been sort of been thinking, maybe things that you need to communicate, maybe things that need to be sorted out, maybe things that you need to be fair about and be more transparent, be more open about. So if there's a certain fair share of shared resource that needs to be given out, go ahead and do that. Maybe it's a custody, you need to be speaking more clearly, be more transparent about it. You need to be taking action. Mars is again not a planet of contemplation or introspection. It's purely a planet that requires you to move. Of course, you need to be having some amount of caution over here as well, because Mars brings about a lot of aggression, which is not always required. So, like I said, if there are sensitive issues like your if there's a custody battle that's going on, if there's a divorce that is going on, or if you're fighting over the alimony piece of it, just try and keep the aggression out of it. Try and ensure that there is cooperation in the communication that is happening. However, do ensure that you know your insurances and your taxes have not been sort of not been filed for the longest of time, and even though you've been meaning to do that, so take care of that. Try not to sort of procrastinate more on those things. um, Death and regeneration. Also, death and regeneration is a large part of the eighth house that has to do with old patterns, thoughts, letting go of things in your mind that do not work, communicating very effectively on what it is that you want out of your most intimate relationship, sexuality. So, if there have been issues around that area, maybe you will find yourself communicating more effectively around it. Maybe you will um, go and seek help if there is some problem that you have been having. So it speaks a lot about you not sitting or contemplating any longer. It also speaks about intimate issues. So if there have been problems in a relationship and there have been things that you have been sort of shying away from addressing them, this is a time where you will want to talk about it. You would want to address it. And Neptune will be transiting him. Neptune is going to be transiting a ninth house, and that's lovely. It's going to be Neptune again, is a planet of inspiration. It's a planet of dreams. It's a planet of creativity, and in certain ways, also it causes some amount. You could be misled when Neptune is really there in full force, because it doesn't let you see things for what they really are. It causes some amount of a haze over there. So you may be looking at things through rose colored glasses and saying that, oh, it looks so beautiful, or you really tend to idolize things at that point of time. So since it is there in a part of your chart that has to do with friends, with groups of people, with larger communities, it could be the ninth. This house is also about higher education. So for those of you who have been wanting to pursue a degree, it's a great time where you will apply for a course or seek a higher degree or go outside and travel. At this point of time, you will also be able to connect more deeply with your higher self, to your spirituality. This is also a brilliant time, I think, where you will be really in touch, so to speak, with your feelings. You will be more intuitive. You will move more from instinct, more from gut, and less for reason, which sometimes can be quite a good thing, as I have found. You would be questioning, or you would be having discussions about things like what is the purpose of life, what is it, about relationships, friendships, and a lot of philosophy, a lot of psychology, friendships, and a lot of adventure as well. You would be, I think, somewhere also seeking at exploring newer things at this point. We, however, yes, like I said, that Neptune is going to be there in this part of your chart for a long, long time, and so just be careful as that you don't sort of get engulfed by it. Don't idolize it too much. That you are just having these endless chats over philosophy and the purpose of life, and what does one do and doesn't do, and you really don't take much action. So Neptune being over there is a warning that uh, if you need to be helping, if you need to be doing something, it will be very important that you implement a percentage of it. Also, besides being deluded, try not to delude others as well. Try not to, sort of. If you're not able to commit in a relationship, if you're not ready for a commitment, I think it would be wise if you can tell your potential partner, who may be sort of literally standing at the altar, tell him or her that you're not ready, or you do not know as to, when you will be ready. So try not to mislead. Uranus is there in your 10th house now. Your 10th house, Uranus is there in a part of your chart that has to do with your career, it has to do with your reputation, it has to do with your income, it has to do with accolades. And Uranus, our lovely wild boy, is all about unpredictability, chaos, movement, sudden change. So you could find yourself either leaving your job all of a sudden and going and doing something radically different. You may suddenly even get promoted. You may suddenly have a project, or something that you've put up, say a research paper that gets accepted, and there could be acknowledgement which may be or has not been coming for the longest of time, and all of a sudden you'll find people around you telling you, wow, what a great job, we always knew that you could do it, and you'd be like, all right, I've been doing it all these years. So this is a time where a lot of accolades, honors, success will come to you around your workspace, and it could be quite unconventional. I think people are also going to be quite impressed and quite drawn to your unconventionality, your ability to look at solutions, or your ability to look at problems with quite an unusual and quite an unconventional solution. So there is going to be quite a suddenness, quite an unplanned thing, and even you will find yourself drawn to things, works, projects which are not conventional, which are quite different. Maybe it's not a part of the portfolio that you handle. For those of you who are doing your own business, there could be maybe a sudden travel. Maybe you may come across somebody who's quite influential and quite important, who might help you in your business. He may just like the work that you're doing. Maybe you're an artist, and the genre of your painting is, it's radically different from the conventional, and you may just have a huge sale. However, Uranus forms a square to Pluto, and this is happening in your seventh house around the May 21st to November 1st. Now, this square is going to be affecting all zodiac signs, but it will affect the cardinal signs more strongly. And this is a great time where making collaborations, doing collaborations with like minded people would be really beneficial for you. And also, preferably, not preferably, also if you have been receiving an offer from foreign countries to collaborate, I think this is a great time where you should review it. Jupiter is also going direct on January 13th, and I think that's lovely, because Jupiter, with all its expansiveness, with all its largeness, is going to come and give you its help, and that is happening in your 12th house. That's a house of spirituality, it's a house of karma, it's a house also of long term confinement, it is also the house of hospitals, and it's a house where, as we astrologers like to call it, it's a house where you serve, you don't really take, and that's a time where it's indicating that you should be serving. So Jupiter being there is going to be sort of either increasing a need for, that you get more associated more deeply or more at a larger scale with an NGO, with an organization, and you become more of an active member over there. It is also a time where on the spiritual level you will find your mind broadening, more accepting to ideas and thoughts from different religions, different cultures, different teachings. Maybe at this time you might just find a mentor as well, kind of a guru, somebody who will be your guiding factor for the years to come. So your sense of charity will increase, Cancerians, with this aspect, and Jupiter is going to be helping you with this entire process of transformation. And like I said, Jupiter with its expansiveness is going to help you sort of look at things more broadly, not just stay focused on what it is that is making you suffer. You are going to be going outside, you're going to be looking beyond yourself, and I think that is the biggest evolvement or change that will start for you for 20. I think also the more you help, you will also have the realization that the implications of the good that you do, that it has a resonance. Um, I think as you go, also as your sense of charity increases, so will your sense of the goodwill coming back to you will also increase. Like I said, since it's a house of karma as well, you will be more acutely conscious of what you sow, so you reap. So overall, I would say a better year than it was in 2012. Yes, it has its own challenges, but we're starting off with a lot of clarity in the mind, what it is that you want to be doing with your life. And like I said, the shift is there from self to the other. So that is, I think, beginning of the journey in itself of discovery for you. So have a lovely January. I'll see you again in Feb, and thank you so much for watching.